Hi guys.
Hello.
Welcome to ETTA ARLENE's Spirit Cast. If you're new to this podcast, we like to talk about all things related to mindfulness, meditation, Reiki, spirituality, magic, metaphysics, tarot, astrology, anything in that realm. Today our guest is Sheila.
Hello.
She's a good friend of ours. We've known her forever. And
actually, since I was born.
Known me for what, like 20 plus years?
Oh, we don't age us.
My bad. I've known them for forever.
Yes.
Don't age us. Like, hush up. Shut up.
Known them for the past 4 minutes. I'm kidding.
Yeah, she's pretty awesome, and she does a lot of cool stuff in the spiritual realm, I guess we could call it. So we thought we'd have her on just to chat about all of it.
Yeah.
How'd you get started?
How'd I get started? Dun, dun, dun. So, I got started in the occult accidentally.
Okay.
I technically practice Discordianism, and I fell into that by chance because...
Now you have to tell everybody what
what is Discordianism?
Discordianism is what you do when you're trying to figure out absolutely nothing at all. Actually, it's interesting because Discordianism, depending on who you ask, is going to be a different thing.
Okay.
No two Discordians practice alike unless they're telling you the truth or lying. But there's a lot of interesting aspects of Discordianism that I like. One of the things is the fact that it gives you the freedom to pick and choose what works for you and incorporate it in your own means. And that's what I've been doing over the years. So it's just like, I'm a solo practitioner and I'm going like that nice slow pace for me. So it's just like, in regards to some things, I'm a novice or a beginner or whatever you want to label me as. Or if other things I have more experience in, like in regards to my interactions with spirits in the spiritual world, predates me becoming Discordian. Because I grew up Christian. I grew up going to church like every Saturday up until I was like ironically 13. And I'll never forget, I was at church with my best friend, one of my best friends, Lakita. And we're in the sermon, and there's just something that was said, and I wish to this day I remember what was said in the sermon, where I was just I just can't do this anymore because I just got tired of lying to myself. And I walked outside, I excused myself, and I just remember sitting down on the steps of the church and looking up at the beautiful sky and just being in awe at just how beautiful everything was. And that's when I started to read different aspects of magic, different belief systems, and I stumbled upon Discordianism, and it makes sense to me. This is a bit of a oxymoron, but one of my found beliefs is finding balance and protection within chaos.
Okay.
Because that in itself is just chaos is just all over the place. Yeah. Sometimes you got to figure out a way to balance and navigate through that. The world is unpredictable, but just because it's unpredictable doesn't mean that good shit can't happen.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I never knew. I'm not familiar with Discordianism. You're the first time I've ever heard
that ever.
Yeah. I didn't know the name of your spiritual practice. I just knew that you were into
chaos.
Cool stuff. Yeah.
You wear the symbol.
Yeah. I have a chaos star.
So is
There's a couple symbols.
It's on your arm too.
Yeah. Well, this is a combination symbol.
Okay.
The chaos star, yin yang, and the pentacle. Yeah. Balance, protection, chaos. Balance, protection within chaos.
Oh wow. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So you were 13 when you found it, or did it progress into high school when you were like Discordian?
Like,
where it's at?
I don't remember when I specifically started practicing Discordianism.
Okay.
Like I just started dabbling like in paganism and different aspects of the occult like when I turned 13, because like a lot of the stuff that was in the church and the Bible just wasn't making sense to me. And like I remember being super young and just telling my aunt, like, you know, like I see spirits and like I hear things, like, and according to the Bible, people like me should be stoned to death. And I'm like, and I asked her, it's just like, why would I follow a book that's saying that I should be stoned to death because of how I am? Like, I didn't choose to this. My life would probably be significantly simpler if I didn't like see and hear stuff like this, like, but it is what it is. Like, I've always been able to see, hear, and sense stuff, and that's just my normal. One of the most interesting instances of like spirit encounters I had actually started like back when I was like 4 years old.
Okay.
And I've talked to you about this before. Like, this is when I picked up my hellhound.
Okay.
And I'll never forget, I was spending the night at my aunt's house, and it was dark, and I was like trying to go to the bathroom. From the back room, you had to cut through the garage into the bathroom. So like I opened the door, and there's just this gigantic like black dog with red eyes, and he's just snarling, just watching me. So like I run to the bathroom, do my business, and run back, and this thing is just like snarling at me the entire time. And like ever since that day, like for years when I was a child, every night, like I would be going to bed, and this dog would just be hovering beside my bed, snarling, growling, snapping, just like threatening to eat me. And this went on for years and years and years. And like, I don't know if I told my parents about this, and if I did, they probably didn't take me serious. But I remember one night I was just like laying in bed, and the hellhounds again. I just remember just like being like, you know, like, you've been doing this for years, like, but you never do anything. Like, if you're gonna be here all night, just lay down, be quiet, and let me sleep. And like after that, like, he started to like chill the fuck out. And
that's funny. He's like, okay.
And like fast forward a few years later, like I'm talking with like other folks that are into spirituality, and he gave me the notion to like, well, since you have this like spirit that's attached to you, like, why don't you like create a spirit house and bind him and like put your spirit to work? So it's just like I did. So like I created a like a dog skull out of Sculpey. Not necessarily the recommended use for Sculpey, just saying. And I carved a symbol for my hound's name. I'm not going to give my hound's name over.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah,
for reasons. And it definitely reined him in more. It's interesting because like his primary job is keeping me safe, including from myself and those around me, and keeping like my friends safe as well. And like it's nice because like I've definitely been in some situations where it's just like, well, that could have ended in tragedy, or that could have ended like way worse, but things didn't. Thank the gods. But
is it bad if you say, if other people think of the name or say it?
Not necessarily. I don't think. It's just something that I wouldn't necessarily want it to be
public. Yeah. Okay, I was just
knowledge.
curious.
Yeah, she said the name before me.
Okay. Yeah. No, I was just curious.
Yeah. Cause you guys are like family.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like I definitely feel that like binding him to the spirit house reined him in a bit. But I also kind of feel that it might have nerfed his power a bit as well.
Oh, really?
Like, because like I noticed that once I bound him, he wasn't as intense as far as like energy wise, and like I've definitely noticed like the farther I am away from the spirit house, the weaker his energy feels. So like he's bound to that item.
Okay.
So like it's definitely been interesting. He is not the only thing I've seen over the years. Like I've seen all sorts of different like shapes of spirits and entities. I've had stuff follow me more times than I care to admit. A lot of the spirits that follow me don't attach due to my hellhound's presence. But a lot of stuff is just like curious. It's just like, what is this? What are you? And then it goes about its business. Although every now and then I do have stuff that like is a little more infamous. But what has helped me in the past for like getting rid of like hexes, curses, and energies and entities that I don't want attached to me is burning a rose thorn candle. So what you do with that is like there's a couple ways you can do it. You can either make your candle from scratch, or you can like just buy a candle and put like 13 roses in it throughout, or rose thorns in it throughout. Etch on the side of the candle what you want out of it, and like burn it all the way through. Like don't put it out before it's done burning. It needs to burn all the way through.
Okay. Now these are, you just get a rose and pop the thorns off and put it in? Okay.
Yeah.
Does it matter what size the candle is?
Ideally you don't want a 7-day candle.
Okay.
You
just
don't,
sitting there.
Yeah, just because the candle has to, like, from beginning to end, the candle needs to burn. Like, you light it once and you let it burn out.
Does it matter what color the candle is?
From my experience, no.
Okay.
I like to try to use black candle because, like, that does, like, help negate negative energy. But I've also used gold candles before.
Because you can go to the magic store and get the fast burning, like, ones.
So you jam the rose thorns in.
Have you done that?
Could you do that?
Yeah.
Just in like a normal
that's what I did. Just
charm
like
candle.
But you want to make sure the candle has enough space for at least the 13 roses.
Okay.
There's one for every lunar cycle.
It's one for every lunar cycle?
Yeah, or one for every moon, yeah.
Okay.
So
That's a good
significant.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And you were talking to us earlier about it. It will clear out all energy, right? Like it won't just get the negative. It might get something that you want around.
Yeah. So you definitely have to keep that in mind because like it is for like removing hexes, removing curses, removing things that are attached to you. But when you burn it, it does not discriminate between positive attachments and negative attachments. It just like it wipes the slate. It's just like, okay, stuff's attached to you. Here's some scissors. We're gonna start cutting. And when I'm done cutting, everything's gonna be off.
Make it work.
Yeah. So use caution.
Yeah.
Before you decide to do that.
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten rid of something that you wanted to keep?
Actually, interesting. Yes.
Okay.
When I first burned my rose thorn candle, when I first burned a rose thorn candle, I accidentally separated the bond that I had with my hellhound. This was like years before I bound him to a spirit house, and it was interesting because I immediately noticed like he was not attached. He was just like, but then like I also immediately noticed afterwards that like I started noticing more entities and spirits following me, and it wasn't until after I reacquired my hellhound that the reason why I wasn't being followed as much and stuff wasn't attaching to me as much was because his presence was warding off other spirits.
Wow.
Yeah.
So can you feel him now?
Yeah, a little. Like, he's kind of just chill. He's definitely learned to, like, chill out. The first time, like, I wasn't even thinking about the hellhound that was attached to me. I was just like, I just need to like get rid of this like negativity, this like because I was just having like horrible like circumstantial luck and everything, and like I felt like a weight just like once the candle was done burning, and as I said, like after I burned that, like I noticed it's just like there's shit everywhere.
Yeah, so definitely use caution before and consult somebody.
Yeah.
Before you decide to do that, because you might really make a mistake.
Yeah.
Or a really good thing.
Yeah. You never know.
You never know. Well, not until you try.
No.
I know what Palo Santo will do negative energy. Dragon's Blood I like because it does just negative stuff. And same with Palo Santo, but I don't know if I read Palo Santo it's not that good for the environment, so you use it. I don't know the details, but I know that there's some environmental issues with that. So
it's overforested.
Yeah. Especially with the oil. So I don't like to recommend Palo Santo, but I know Dragon's Blood will clear like just negative stuff.
There's always good old fashioned sage. I anytime I've burned sage in the past. Before binding my hellhound, like it never
messed with it.
Yeah, but then again, like I also think that was because like it was attached to me, and I'm also like keeping in mind that like this stays. So
sounds like the rose thorn is like the like.
Artillery,
it's like the ultimate, like we're gonna clear everything out, you're starting over.
Like
where does the rose thorn candle tradition come from? Like, is it based in?
I would have to ask my one friend who I haven't talked to in years, because she's the one that told me about it, and I have no idea where
it stems from.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like, as a Discordian, like, I do pick and choose stuff, and I also work with my own intuition, like certain things that I do aren't in books because it's something that I do that works for me. Like, I have different, like, little meditation practices, little visual practices that, as far as I know, are unique to me and, like, what I do. Like, I have, like, banishing rituals that are similar to others, but, like, the way I execute them it's my own personal flair that works for me. So there's that. But yeah, like, I worship, like, three particular gods.
Okay.
And two of those gods aren't associated with Discordianism. That's Ra, the sun god, and Selene, the moon goddess, and Eris, who is the goddess of chaos, who I consider my everything. I actually consider Eris my goddess with butterfly wings, because that's how she manifests to me. Like, she's this beautiful, like, dark-skinned woman. She has a blindfold on, and she has, like, these, like, massive, like, multicolor like wings. And like I think part of that is because in my mind, like butterflies never know where they look like they know where they're going. They're just like, ah. And also there's the whole adage of the butterfly effect, which is an actual thing, which refers to a science experiment where a scientist was like trying to recreate weather patterns in a computer simulator, and usually if you go back like 3 decimal places, that's close enough in most math things. But like when he did that, like the outcome on the weather generator was so vastly different that he equated it to a butterfly flapping its wings on the other side of the world, creating a tornado in Montana. So every hurricane season, you have butterflies to thank. But it's one of those aspects of like, yeah, something minute might have a drastic effect that you have has been completely unforeseen, but you got to work with. And I think that's why for me, she has butterfly wings. And like there's also chaos theory, which I know very little to anything about, because that's also actually a scientific thing. But yeah, like a lot of my personal beliefs is just like, yeah, like whatever the situation is, there's always a way to make it work. It might not be the best, but at least it's a way forward. And sometimes you have to backtrack, and that's okay too.
So where does she originate from? She's a part of
Greek mythology.
Okay.
She was. Are you familiar with the story with the golden apple?
No.
I'll come back to this when I have it fresh, because I can't remember all the goddesses and gods that were at this party.
Yeah.
But a bunch of like gods were invited to. Yeah, it was Greek. This was a party in Mount Olympus, and everyone but her was invited, and she wasn't too pleased about that. So she got this like golden apple, and it had the letter K on it, and that K represented I want to say like to the fairest, and like the goddesses found this apple at this party and begun to fight over it, because like they're like, no, I'm the fairest, I'm the fairest, I'm the fairest. And it's gonna drive me nuts, because like I can't remember the names in this story, and that's important. That's usually how my memory works. In the middle of the night, I'll remember everything and be like, but they made this poor mortal choose which goddess was the fairest to give the apple to. And I think that like was supposedly like what started the Trojan War or something like that.
I do know this story.
Yeah.
I do know this story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, you are the fairest. Have this golden apple. And Eris is back there just like...
Because in Revet, they had a mortal choose it, and in Revet, the one that was chosen, like the goddess chosen, was like happy about it, but the ones that weren't chosen were pissed off, and they cursed the dude. And then that's what started the Trojan War. Well,
now we all have something to like dig into and do a little more research on.
Yeah. I apologize to any person who knows it well. I just loose memory.
Okay.
But
so she's Greek mythology.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. How did you find her? Did she come to you? Like,
she definitely came to me.
Okay.
Because, like, I want to say, like, I found out when I was just, like, reading a book, and there's this, like, little snippet about Discordianism or Discordia in the book I was reading, and, like I just thought it was, like, the funniest thing, and it really spoke to me in a lot of aspects. Because, like, one of the principles of Discordia is, like, if you are taking your belief too seriously, you're doing something wrong.
Okay.
And I would be surprised if there's some, like, I'm waiting for, like, you're gonna get, like, some, like, long-winded email about somebody who's, like, pissed about everything that I've said. It's just, like, as a Discordian there, like...
Well, that's their problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, we're pretty open podcast.
Yeah.
I think our listeners are open-minded, I'd hope. But
but one of the things that I remember the most was there was this like card that you could cut out in the book that was this guy bent over with his butt cheek spread, and he had an eye in it.
This is explicit.
And it was just like dedicating yourself the Pope of Discordia. And like I just thought that was like the funniest thing ever, and I like dabbled a little bit more and more into Discordianism. There's like different types of magic, chaos magic, but like that was like one of the things that like I liked. It's just like I take my practice serious, but not to the point where I'm missing the point of personal growth and enjoying life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of like belief systems, like you're reminded to stay grounded. Like you don't want to stay to, I don't know, like in the spirit world or too caught up in that like other, to the point where you like lose sight of like your physical being and enjoying like what's around you.
Yeah.
It sounds like that's what your religion is speaking on, which is pretty cool. It sounds like it's not trying to like boss you around either.
No. Like I feel like in regards to the company of my gods, like I feel like kind of like the child, but not like being treated like one. Mm-hmm. Like kind of like no matter how old you get, you're always going to be your parents' little kid. Mm-hmm. Kind of like that, where it's just like they give me direction, they give me aid. They also point out when I'm being a butt. Mm-hmm. And like I've found more comfort in my Discordianism. Mm-hmm. Like I was able to accept a lot of things about myself and the world around me, because sometimes bad shit happens just because it happens. Mm-hmm. And because I remember as a kid, like, I blamed a lot of my childhood bullying on myself. It's just like, oh, God must be punishing me for something.
Oh, wow.
And it's just like, no, sometimes kids are just jerks.
Yeah.
Yeah, free will gets in play.
Yeah. So, like, it helped me accept a lot of things and, like, make the best out of a bad situation. Like, regardless of, like, I'm trying to think. This is an actual example in regards to my life. When my parents died, it sucked. Mm-hmm. And that's putting it mildly.
Yes.
And one of the positive things that I took from it was this, because like I did a lot of people pleasing for my parents in regards to dealing with other family members. Mm-hmm. And it boiled down to, like, you know, like, I can choose who I want in my life. I am not mandated to have anybody in my life that is going to piss in my coffee. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, like, that's okay. Like, if I want to step away from toxic family members, that's all right. Yeah. And it gave me that notion, because even though it was a tragedy, it did give me the insight to know that, like, you know, like, now there's no reason for me to talk to people who I don't want to deal with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think people should be selective about their company. I think oftentimes we feel like obligated to do things, not just like family, like friends and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. You don't have to. You know, you can surround yourself with people that make you happy and have your highest good in mind.
Yeah.
Instead of like torturing yourself.
Yeah.
Being out of this like weird sense of obligation.
Yeah.
I also believe in loving people from afar. Like I think sometimes there are people that you do love, but sometimes you just need to have like.
It's one of those. I need you out of my face so I can remember why I love you.
Yeah. Like sometimes I think there's situations like that too. You're like, I really do love you.
Love you, but right now I want to punch you in the face.
Yeah. Okay, I have two questions. First, how did you meet your other two? Like, how did you come to the other two gods? Like, did they show themselves to you? Like, how did you connect with them?
Basically just because of the world around me, because one of my biggest things, and this is just like a personal, to folks that are arrogant with their atheism. I'll say that. Because I don't have a problem with atheists. I don't have a problem with theists. I don't have a problem with agnostics. At the end of the day, as long as you're polite to me, like, I have no reason not to be polite to you. But part of it was just simply the fact that, like, I can proudly say that I worship things that can be proven that exist. Like, I'm not going to get in an argument with somebody who's just like, you worship the sun god. The sun god doesn't exist. So it's like, did you not notice that big ass ball of light that like passes our Earth or orbits? It's orbits now. It orbits the planet, orbits Earth. It's just like, I view that as a god. Whether or not you agree with that is irrelevant to me. Like, I'm allowed to choose what God is in my life. So for me, that was a way for me to be like, my gods are real. My gods are the sun, the moon, and chaos. And those are all things that are abundant.
I was going to say a part of the human experience. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with chaos magic. Like, I know what it is, but I obviously don't practice chaos magic. Tell me about it.
Oh my goodness. I'm actually still learning a lot about it myself. Because as I said, like, I pick and choose from like what works. Chaos magic is a completely I don't want to say completely different set, because like, as I said, I'm still learning, but it is its own thing. Because I know there's
so it's not connected to your goddess of chaos?
Eris.
Eris, yes.
I don't want to say yes and I don't want to say no, mainly because I'm still learning. But like, for instance, there is your hoodoo magic, there's your voodoo magic, there's white magic or black magic, depending on like your flavor. So there are different types of magic that have like different purposes, different reasons. Same with chaos magic. It's a different way of going about achieving a goal. I'm still learning. I know there are a lot of books on chaos magic. The one that I'm currently working on reading now is, and I can't remember the book name.
Well, when you remember, you can tell us.
We can link it.
Yeah, like, that's usually how it works for me. It's just like, there's a thing you need to remember, but you're gonna remember it at 4 a.m. But now that it's actively on my mind, I had was meditating because I was having some like difficulties dealing with like my own emotions and whatnot, and Eris reached out to me and reminded me or gave me some information that like I didn't necessarily think of. I'm not gonna read this whole thing unless you want me to.
Just read whatever you want to read.
Yeah.
I gotta read through it first.
Oh, okay.
Might want to edit this little awkward chunk out.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll read the whole thing and then like we can go from there.
Okay.
It's odd where some life lessons come from, and sometimes one has to break down and fall apart, not so they can pick up the pieces, but so one can evaluate the framework. I've had some misconceptions about what it takes to build myself into a better person. Vulnerability and fragility are just as important as strength and perseverance. You can build a house with a strong foundation, but without doors and windows, it's nothing but a prison one chooses to live in. It is easy to overlook how important delicate things are, how important fragile balances are in the world. The wings of birds, bees, and butterflies are the sole thing that allows them to thrive, but without their fragile wings, they'd wither and die. But so would many other things in our world. Without the birds to sing their songs, without the bees to bring us food, and without butterflies to fill our skies, the world wouldn't last long. Regardless of what others might say, without the fragile things in life, so much more in our hearts would be... I'm going to say the word barren was supposed to be there. Our hearts would be barren, because apparently that's where I left off. That's it.
Wow. So was this like automatic writing, or you said you were meditating and that came to you? How did you...
I was meditating, this came to me, and this is what I wrote out.
When things come, do you usually record your meditations, like anything that comes through after?
I try to. I'm not as good as I should be, because a lot of times my head's just wherever. But when she brought that to me, it did put on a lot of perspective, because like a house, if you don't have windows, if you don't have doors, it's just a prison. And doors and windows are the most vulnerable structures of a house, and it's easy, especially in today's environment. I'm not gonna go into too much, but we're so quick to tear down what we deem as fragile. It's just fragility is not to be equated as uselessness. And it's easy to forget that, because it's just there are so many things that are vital to us functioning as human beings and as a society that are held together with the finest of strings. And if we're not careful, those things can be cut and...
Yeah, that's true. And when you think just society in general, what we value, it seems like we don't value the smaller things that are kind of gluing everything together. I don't know, I can think of a lot of different, the environment's a good example. I would say it is fragile, but we don't, it's just
human connections. What I popped to was just people in general, not caring about other people.
Yes.
And their impact on the world and on other people. I think it doesn't matter.
Yeah, your work, we put values on people all the time. What are you doing for society? That type of thing, instead of just why can't you just be alive? And
because and like you said, and we put values on people when we don't need to. People are valuable because they're people.
Exactly.
Yes.
Statistically speaking, the fact that any of us are here is mind-blowing.
It's like a miracle.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think a lot of it has to do with this twisted mindset of what productivity is. Because there's so many different things that people can contribute, because a lot of people do kind of forget, sometimes what makes somebody's day is just that old lady or individual who no one ever sees goes to work, but they just hang out on their porch doing whatever, who takes time to say hi to everybody. Sometimes that's somebody's only connection. And I've lost count of how many times I've had perfect strangers buy my groceries because I've been short and they've seen me getting ready to put stuff back. And I can proudly say I've had more instances of random kindness than I have had random cruelty.
Wow.
And I'm not the most easily approachable person either. Most people look at me and they're I'm gonna cross the street now.
You're not Thomas Mooneygle. They're not gonna ask you for directions.
I'll describe you, and you think she's tall. She has a lot of tattoos. She has green hair. She's very tough looking, and she's actually a martial artist. To add to that, like she can break a window, like with fairly
easily. Fairly easily. She's not someone you want to cross. No. Let's just say that.
I'm nice. Like I've had complete strangers come up to me, specifically men.
Really?
Men usually come up to me and tell me, it's just like, man, you look tough. I wouldn't want to pick a fight with you. I'm like thinking to myself, like, yeah, you're right, but like,
that's so weird.
I'm nice.
That's like, so weird.
I'll tell you this right now, no one's ever said that to me.
I've lost count of how many people have just been like, you look like you could whip somebody's ass. I'm like,
all right, like you want to challenge me, bud?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I'll be in like the grocery store when people come up to me and say this shit.
You're like, is this supposed to be a compliment?
Is this a compliment? Am I getting hit on right now? Or is, like, I'm just trying to buy some tomatoes.
Yeah.
You just hold the fruit in your hand, like...
Maybe next time that happens, I'll just, like, aggressively eat the fruit in public. Just like,
bite a watermelon.
You can, like, squeeze it, or, like, throw a watermelon down.
Yeah.
And, like,
I'm paying for this! And just stomp angrily to the counter and clean it up.
Just hold it. That's funny.
That's so weird.
Well, like, it's like, I'm just like, I'm pretty nice, like, as I said, like, unless you piss in my coffee, like, I have no reason to, like, be a douche.
Yeah. Sometimes I think people just expect everybody to suck,
Oh,
too.
God. I don't know how many times people think I'm mean because of my face.
Resting bitch face?
I have resting bitch face, but I'm really nice. I'm really nice, too. I haven't gotten, I wouldn't want to pick a fight with you. I did get someone telling me I was sturdy. I look sturdy. I don't know. I was at a club, too.
Oh, it's like, you
look sturdy.
What's that mean?
I don't know.
So, you've had Eris?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, Eris.
Okay, Eris. So she's come to you during meditation. Mm-hmm. Is it just an energy or a sense that you know it's her, or does she manifest visually? Because I know people experience meditation differently, and some people do get really hardcore visuals when they meditate.
For me, it varies how I'm meditating. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's just the audio. Sometimes it's just like that sensation. Sometimes it's visual. A lot of times I get all three.
Okay.
When I was meditating that particular time, I happened to be like in a very relaxed place, laying down, eyes closed. So like I got the whole shebang, and like it's interesting because like Ra has manifested for me, Selene has manifested for me, and like they've all given me different forms of advice. One of the most interesting things Ra has told me is holding on to painful memories is like trying to build in hot sand. Like, you can build in hot sand, but all you're going to do is hurt yourself and have something that's eventually going to crumble.
Wow.
So why spend your time like building something that's not only hurting you, but it's going to be useless in the end when you can find an oasis. Mm-hmm. So like that was one of the most powerful things that he said.
Wow.
And cause like it's hard to escape from a painful past, especially if you've endured any type of trauma, especially if you've repressed trauma. And the hardest thing, and this touches on the vulnerability thing, is learning to be okay with letting go, learning to be okay with vulnerability, and learning to be okay with uncertainty. No one knows tomorrow.
Yeah. But
that's what makes it interesting. Like, today might suck. Yesterday might have been worse, but tomorrow's always going to be different.
Yeah.
So it gives you a chance to have a slight new experience, and like it's okay if the next day sucks.
Mm-hmm.
At least it's going to be a different.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be able to look at something and be like, at least this didn't happen, at least that didn't happen, or at least this happened, or at least that happened. Like, it just, like, the fact that things are always changing, like, is important. Like, it's always important to acknowledge. It's just like, tomorrow's never going to be the same, so that gives you a chance to...
Yeah.
Start over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Clean slate.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think you have like a strong connection to the specific gods and goddesses because of past lives?
That's an interesting one.
Because like Egyptian culture, Ra.
That's quite possible.
And the reference to the sand and all that stuff, like you have such a connection because you might have worshipped strongly. You worshipped Ra strongly in that time period, during the Greek era.
Maybe those 3 gods.
Maybe those ones were the ones like in past lives that you really had a connection to.
They've just been with you.
Yeah, they've been with you.
It is quite possible. Like, I will admit, in regards to myself and past lives, I do believe in past lives. I'll say that. Like, I have no idea at what stage of like circle and incarnation I'm at. Like, mainly because I myself view myself as a collective. One of the most interesting, intense, yet creepy things that I've ever noticed about myself, and I was meditating, I'd actually done a whole ritual to try to just like gather more sense of myself, and I was talking with the anonymity aspect of myself, and I can't remember the conversation exactly, but I remember that when he mentioned about me as a whole, he elaborated how it's just like there's more than one aspect of me, and like the background behind him lit up like it was like the night sky, like thousands and countless of stars. But they weren't stars. They were eyes. And it was just like, these are the aspects of yourself. So it's hard for me to say, because I personally feel more like a collective than just one individual.
Yeah, I mean, people do say that. There's you have people who believe that they're like split and then they come together,
There's all fractured pieces of our...
Yeah.
Maybe I'm like Ermac.
I'll tell you something, when this is over, I'll tell you an interesting thing.
Okay.
The Metatron thing. Well, is there anything you want us to plug? Or did you want to like tell us?
Plugging stuff. My nose. No, not my nose. I have some visual art on Instagram, not a lot at the moment. I'm working on getting more there, but Inculta Inc. I'm bad at this part because I gotta look up my phone.
Oh, okay.
Remember what it is.
We'll link it in the box.
Yeah.
It's Inculta Inc.
And check out my boyfriend's band, Flock of Rawlry. Rawlry.
We'll
like
look
a
at
walrus.
that too.
Like a walrus?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's more than one. I don't know where they came up with that word.
Yeah, it's weird. Oh well, it's cool. Check them out.
Yeah.
We'll link that down below too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Links down below.
Links down below. Go follow. Go like. Show some support. Encourage more art. God damn it.
I do have some stuff that I'm currently working on.
Okay, good.
I'll show you.
Okay. I got a little aggressive there. Okay. Thanks for listening.
Okay, so as usual, at the end of every episode, we like to send our listeners distant Reiki. If you'd like to see that Reiki, all you have to do is be open to it. Doesn't matter when you listen to this, it'll still come to you because Reiki transcends time, space, reality. We do recommend that you don't drive or operate any machinery, and go home, get cozy, and listen to the music. And then when the music ends, the Reiki session is over. All right, thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.